Hey Stampers, it's Brandy, and I have a really fun technique for you. It's called masking. It's really easy to do, I promise you it is. And it's a lot of fun, and you might be wondering, okay, what is masking anyway? Well, it's a way to create an illusion that one image is behind another. Another cool thing is when you mask off an area, you can actually blend around the image or that area, and then when you take the mask off, it just looks absolutely beautiful. For example, this is the card I'm going to share with you today. And I was able to mask off my bear and then create the illusion that the flowers were behind it. So I thought that was really cool. Now here, remember I said you can also blend around a masked off area? Yeah, this is the flowering tulips. It's such a beautiful stamp set, and I'm really excited to show you exactly how I created that mask and how I created that card. Now, if you like my video and you like this technique and my cards today, please like and subscribe. Click that like button and be sure to subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you're notified of my upcoming videos. All right, I am super excited to share this with you. I have had so much fun creating these cards, and you're gonna need something to blend with. Yeah, so you're gonna need some computer paper, maybe some Post-its. I think there's some Post-it note tape out there. I don't have any of that, so I'm gonna stick with computer paper, maybe some washi tape, and you're gonna want a sponge or maybe one of our blending brushes or something along those lines to blend some color. So without further ado, let's get started. So the stamp set that we're going to use today is Wildlife Wonder. So I just think this is such a cool stamp set. I love these animals on here, the owl, and just so cool. Very masculine too, right? And so I'm going to show you how I created that card and how easy it is to kind of mask him off. Now I used the stitched rectangle dies. And I actually used the third one. That's right. So it's the third one that I actually used for today. So let me just set these aside and show you exactly how I did this. Oh, I am so excited, and I hope that you are too. This is so fun to do. So fun. All right, so the first thing that you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need some floppy, computer paper, just some cheapo computer paper. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut it. Now, all of the sizes and all of the dimensions are going to be on BrandysCards.com. That's right, you're going to be able to get all those sizes, all those dimensions there. And I'm also going to have a PDF tutorial that you can download and print for your idea book. That's right, so you have an idea and inspiration book, you can stick it right in there. And of course, when you're wanting to try something different or maybe a fun technique, you can go back and pull that one out to kind of get your mojo going. So here we go. This piece, is just basically cut from some computer cardstock. And then this is the die that I had mentioned. So I basically ran this through my cut and emboss machine. And when I did that, you'll see that I created this really cool frame. That's right. And so I'm just going to pull this piece out. But it creates this like really cool frame, and that's what we're going to work with today. So I'm going to set this aside, and then what I'm going to do is I have a piece of my computer paper and I have my bear here. So I'm going to grab my Early Espresso. We're going to use Early Espresso ink, and I'm going to ink my bear up really good. Yep, really good. I'm going to ink my bear, and I'm going to stamp him straight down, straight up. Oh my gosh, isn't that just a beautiful, beautiful image? So when you're doing the masking technique, if this is the image that if I want some flowers, let me just show you what I mean on this. So let's just say this is my card and I want to stamp the flowers behind the bear. Well, if I do that, look what happens. Ooh, yeah, he's got flowers in his back. We don't want that. So that's the cool thing about the masking technique, is it's going to allow you to create the illusion that these plants are behind the bear. So here, let's go ahead and I'm going to show you how I did this. You're going to want to stamp your image and you're going to want to cut it out. That's right, hand cut it out or die cut it out. But the trick here is you're going to want to make sure that the image that you're cutting out to mask is that you're cutting it really close. That's right, really, really, really close to the lines. A lot of times I'll say, oh, don't worry about it if there's some white space around it. It's perfectly fine. Well, in this scenario, if you're going to blend around him, then we need to make sure that there's not any white space. Otherwise, it'll look like he's got a halo around him, right? So I'm just kind of cutting him out. And I'm not worrying about his fur and some of these dangly pieces, you know, like his toenails. That is already stamped in dark early espresso. So I'm not concerned about that. That will be on the original stamped image on the card. And I'll show you what I mean here in just 2 seconds. All right. So there's my bear. He's all hand cut out and ready to go. Now what you're going to need is a piece of cardstock. And so you want your good cardstock now. Yep, and you're going to want your good cardstock and maybe some scrap paper. And here is my good cardstock, right? My Stampin' Up! Basic White. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take your mask. So this is going to be my mask, and I'm going to center that inside of this piece. And the reason that I made that bigger is because I want to make sure that I can tape this down so that it doesn't move and it doesn't get all wonky on me. I also want to make sure that my bear is centered, or not necessarily centered, but that I can control where he is going to end up. Okay, so here we go. I think that's probably pretty good. So that's all taped down and ready to go. Now I'm going to flip it over. So what we're going to do now is we are going to ink up our bear, again in early espresso. So ink him up really, really good. And my goal is to stamp him kind of over here. I want his feet like he's walking along the edge, and maybe kind of, you know, maybe that back leg might almost be off. Let's see how that turns out. Ooh, wow, that's awesome. Love, love, love that so much. Okay, so there's my bear. This is my mask, right? So if you were to take a Post-it note, there is some sticky in here, right? And you could stamp your bear on the Post-it note and then cut him out and put it over the top. So when I did that, I found that the Post-it note has kind of this glossiness to it, and I felt like some of the ink was rubbing off into my space. So I decided not to worry about that, just to cut out my bear and set him right over the top. Then what you're going to do is you're going to grab some of your blending brushes. Yeah, so you're going to need some different blending brushes. The two greens that I used today are Granny Apple Green, and then I decided to go a little bit darker with some Old Olive. So I'm going to take my one green blending brush, and I think that I'm going to go ahead, just to make this easier on myself, I'm going to go ahead and just tape my mask down, okay? So it's kind of like two masks here, right? So this piece is going to allow me to add color. This mask is going to allow me to add a plant behind him. All right, so here we go. So here he is. So let's ink up our plant like I showed you before, early espresso. And because I have the mask on top, I can now stamp this flower right behind him, and it doesn't look like it's in his back. Remember, this was the one that I stamped, and you can see kind of like the flowers coming out of the back of him. So that is the really cool thing about masking, is it allows you to create the illusion that there is an image, you know, behind a subject, right? So here we go. I'm going to stamp another one right down there. Perfect. Okay, so we're just going to put our mask right back on here, and I'm going to start with some Granny Apple Green. Now when I do this, I like to kind of come off of the bottom, and I'm just going to blend up. So I'm going to turn my cardstock just to make it easier for me blending and for you to see. So I like to kind of put the heavy cardstock on that frame or that matted piece, right? And I'm blending it up. So I'm just kind of adding some of that light green in an upward circle motion, setting my brush down on the frame first, okay? So then when I get the desired color that I'm looking for, then I'm gonna go and pick up some Old Olive. Now, if you prefer, you can start on the bear's leg and you can work your way down if you want. You know, it's entirely up to you. But the Old Olive is gonna add a bit of depth, a bit more color, right, to that blended area. Oh my gosh, I can't hardly wait to show you how beautiful this is when you start to take that frame off and take your bear off. Okay, so there we have it. And so you can see, do you see that white space around there? So if that happens to you, all you're gonna do is kind of move. Do you see if I have it straight over the top, but if I move it a little bit, well, then it exposes that area. And I can kind of come back in there and blend right over the top of that. So that's kind of nice. So sometimes it just takes, you got to move it just a smidgen, just a smidge, and you can like blend right back over the top of that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I am going to bring in my Calypso Coral. And so then I'm going to go with Calypso Coral for the next color. So there's my coral brush. I'm going to put my mat back on top of my mask back on top of my bear, and I'm going to start coloring in again. And now here I am, you know, just trying to go ginger a little bit until I can kind of decide, okay, I like it a little bit lighter, because, you know, I kind of feel like you can start out lighter, you know, but you can't take the color away. So, and I don't want to get in the view of the camera here. So let's see, it might be easier that way. Okay, so now I'm just kind of going over the top of him and just kind of adding that beautiful color. Now see how I've got that splotch right there, that one right there? So that's why I always recommend starting off. But that's okay, we're gonna blend that in and I think it's gonna be fine. So we just have to kind of work that color over. Yeah, just working it over. Now you could do this with blues for a beautiful sky. You could do this for an ocean theme, right? Or a card with water. So there is lots of different things that you could, you know, you could do with this. So I'm just kind of working that over kind of like that. Now, if you know, you could, if you really wanted to, yep, look at that. So there's a little bit of line there. So let's kind of move him over and kind of get all up in there, right? So kind of add a little bit more dark in here. There we go. Now I like that a lot. So there we go. So kind of softened that up a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to grab a yellow blending brush, okay? So again, we're going to put our mat back on top of our bear, and now I'm going to come in with some Daffodil Delight. Now one thing I love about the Daffodil Delight is I like how, you know, it really blends into that coral, and it just makes this like beautiful sunset. I mean, it's so pretty. So pretty. So I'm just kind of working that in. Now I do kind of like the color to kind of gradate, you know, like that gradation. So I'm not, you know, I do like it a little bit brighter around him. And then I'm kind of looking for it to kind of get lighter as I go towards the top. Now the other cool thing here is that these little holes in this stitched frame, I'm hoping that I'm transferring some color onto my cardstock. But do you see how beautiful that is? And so, you know, if you wanted to add more color, if you take that mat off, well then you can say, okay, well I can add more color in here, you know, make it darker, lighter, whatever you would like. But how cool is that? So much fun. So here, what we're going to do now is we're going to pull up this piece, because we have two masks here. We have one for the frame, for the color, and then we had one for the bear, right? And so here we go. This is just washi tape. This is kind of a low tacked tape, right? And so I can just pull this off. And being that I taped it to the back, I shouldn't have to worry at all about it causing any troubles. All right, so there you have it. It's so beautiful. I hope you like it. If you do, please like and subscribe. Click that like button. I would really appreciate that. It definitely helps me grow my channel, so I really appreciate that. But we're not done yet. So this card, I'm going to use a saying that says, "For all the great things that you do." Now, I'm going to go ahead and just stamp it and make sure I have my wits about me and that I'm straight, so that, you know, because I don't want to, you know, I don't want to like just go right in and like have it all be wonky and crooked. That would make me cranky after this beautiful blending, right? So there you have it. So now what you're going to do is very simple. You just need some Stampin' Dimensionals and a card base. That's right, Stampin' Dimensionals, card base, fold that in half. Let's flip this over, and we're going to put some Stampin' Dimensionals right here behind your card. Yep, or behind your image, I should say. And then after that, we're going to put it on top of our card base. Now, what I thought was really cool is that you really don't need to mat, you know, you don't really need to put any of, you know, other cardstocks or colors behind it, because I think that the beauty of it, you know, it's so pretty and it just shines with its colors that I don't really think it needs a whole lot more. So let's just make sure that we're good and flat there. And let's get this centered right in the middle. Now I also thought about, well, does it need a gem or a jewel? And I'm like, no, it doesn't. It's so lovely just the way that it is, right? Now do you see, I don't know if the camera's picking up the little stitched edge. That's the ink that came through from the sponging. So I just thought that was super cool and super fun too. So that is the masking technique. Now before I go, I'm going to show you another quick technique with the masking that you can also do fairly quickly and make all kinds of fun cards. So I'm going to set my bear aside, and I'm going to bring in my stuff to create tulips. That's right. So here is the Flowering Tulips stamp set. So that's what I'm going to use today. And I'm going to grab a bunch of my parts and pieces and kind of bring them over. If I know my husband, he's probably showing all of my mess here, but that's okay, because that's what us crafters do, right? So this is the stamp set that we're going to use, Flowering Tulips. And for this one, it's a little bit different. This is my card base. I'm going to fold that in half. Now for this one, I have my washi tape. And I also have a piece of computer paper, and I'm going to take that computer paper and I'm going to set that, actually, you know what, I'm not going to do it on my card base. I want it to be matted on my card base. So I'm going to do it on a regular piece of cardstock, a basic white. Computer paper, nice and thin. One thing that I want to share with you when you do this masking technique is that you want to use a really thin paper. If you use a heavy cardstock, sometimes the images kind of, there's that space in between because it's a thicker cardstock. So make sure you get yourself a Post-it note or a computer paper or something really thin when you do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I think I want this right about here. So I am going to take my washi tape and I am going to add it right in here. Now, the key, which I did not do very well, and I can see that, the key here is it needs to be straight. Otherwise, it will definitely look wonky and be wonky on your cardstock. And we don't want it wonky. No wonky. Now, if you have some grid paper, maybe you use some grid paper. Maybe that will help you keep a straighter, a straighter line. If you have some grid paper. I just one thing I like about this is that I can, and I'm just going to really honestly start over with that piece because that piece is a little unruly. I like that I can sort of tuck my cardstock between the two pieces, and so it's kind of tucked in there pretty tight. Okay, so it's not really going to go anywhere. However, I can move it So maybe you just tack off, you know, kind of tape down a corner. All right, so there we have that. Now what we're gonna do is we are gonna pull in a few of our things for our tulips. Now I did pre-stamp a few things because I really wanna focus on showing you how I did the masking technique. I do have some other videos that will be coming shortly to share with you on the flowering tulips. So I'm also gonna bring in some Mossy Meadow. Here we go, we got Mossy Meadow. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take and stamp my stem. So let's get that good and inked up. And I think that I want it to go that direction. And so again, I have got this area down here masked off. So there's my stem. Now, of course, I do want a second flower, so I'm gonna kind of go off to the right-hand side. Now, one cool thing that you can do is if you take your leaf and you wanna get two colors on it, ink it up in Old Olive, and then you're gonna kind of rock it in a darker color. And then I'm gonna come over here and figure out where I want my leaf, and I can get a darker color on there. Now I'm gonna grab this little guy and ink it up in Old Olive. I'm gonna kind of tap it in my Mossy Meadow, and I don't have to worry about it ruining my Mossy Meadow because it's a darker color. So I'm not terribly concerned about that. So here we go. I'm going to go back into Old Olive and kind of add some darker to this. Now the smaller leaf you can't tell quite as well as the bigger leaf, but let's see. I think I'm going to add that right about there. Perfect. I love that. Okay, so what I've done ahead of time is I have cut a few flowers. And so the cool thing is this is like such a fun stamp set. I mean, you've got all kinds of color combinations. You've got all kinds of different colors, like holy cow. You could spend all day just playing with these different colors and images. But today I think that I'm going to go with, what do you think? Should we go with a bit of the purple? I really like the gorgeous grape. It's quite nice, isn't it? Oh gosh, it's hard to pick. So let's just go ahead with our Melon Mambo. So let's add some Melon Mambo, and I'm gonna add this one flat, okay? Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this guy here, and I am going to add a Stampin' Dimensional up at the top so that I get a little bit of lift or dimension. And then I'm gonna add a mini glue dot because I want the bottom of the tulip to be tacked down. Then what I did is I cut out another piece of the tulip, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing because I feel like this is my opportunity to give this card a bit of lift, okay? So I'm gonna put it on there and I'm gonna come right in just like that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my blending brush and I'm gonna put away Mossy Meadow because I'm done with that, but I'm gonna bring back in Granny Apple Green, and I have Old Olive. So remember, this is our mask right here so that we can add color, and by having this masked off, you're not gonna get color underneath it. So that's the plan. So I am gonna work some color, some Granny Apple Green, kind of soften this area and really highlight you know, this masked off area. It's gonna be beautiful, I promise. So I'm just kind of really blending. And of course, you can get darker, lighter, however you would like, whatever you would like to do. So let's see here. And I have another card to show you too. I can't hardly wait. Very excited. And on this third card that I'm going to show you, I'm actually going to do another video on that one. So you can stay tuned, and I promise you I will share that one as well. All right, so here we go. Now, while I'm doing this, I do want to let you know that I have a beginner series, and so we've all been a beginner once, and even if you're not a beginner, you might enjoy it or find something that you didn't know that is helpful. So if you're interested, make sure you go over to BrandysCards.com/beginners and make sure that you subscribe so that you're notified of my next video. We've got a 12 video series, and all of the feedback that I've been hearing is that you're loving it. and you're enjoying it very much. So that makes me so happy. So be sure to go to BrandysCards.com/beginners and subscribe there so that you are notified of those videos and of course any other projects and tutorials that are available. Okay, so I just shared with you how to create this. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to just pull up, let's kind of pull those guys out of the way here. Okay, and I'm going to pull this out of the way, and then I'm going to pull up this washi tape. What I found kind of having this spot in here, look at that. Oh, isn't that so pretty? Now let's just say you're like, okay, Brandy, that's just not dark enough. Well, you could certainly kind of put it back in there, right? And you can add more color if you want to. Just keeping in mind that when you do that, you have to make sure, you know, that you get it in there straight. Otherwise, you might, you know, end up wonky, and you don't want to do that. So, or unless that's your intention, right? So here we go. Let's just pull that out again and see. And so you can see it's a bit darker on the bottom there. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to pull in some Memento Black. So I have Memento Black ink here, and I have the sentiment from the stamp set that says, "Love you so much." So let's just ink that up really good in Memento Black, and I am going to line that up right under my flowers, and that is just a 1-layer image. How cool is that? Oh my gosh, I just think that is the coolest. Now, what if you wanted a 3rd flower? So before I go, I'm going to show you really quickly how you can accomplish that. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this right back in my mask. I'm going to tack my corner down just so that I know that everything is in, you know, is in the right spot and not unruly. And then I'm going to grab my stem, ink it up in Mossy Meadow. And what if I kind of come down right about here? Oh my goodness, you guys are like, oh, what is she doing? I know, right? So what I'm going to do now is I am going to, there's a smaller little flower in this set, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the others. Now I am thinking that you're probably wondering what these colors are. So this color here is Calypso Coral, I believe, and it's stamped off for the lighter color. Melon Mambo, and this one is Crushed Curry. So that is the colors that I have there. Now, one little thing I'm going to show you that I thought was kind of cool. Do you kind of see this like leaf right here? I thought that if I cut that leaf off, it just fit perfectly in the center of the yellow flower. And so it again allowed me to kind of create some lift or some dimension. I'm going to add my dimensional right behind here, and then I'm going to add a mini glue dot, and I'm just going to add it right about in there, so it just kind of creates that little bit of dimension. All right, so are you excited to see what this is going to look like? I know that I am. So let's take this off. Oh, how cool is that? Oh my goodness gracious alive. So much fun. And so easy to do. So let me show you what it's going to look like. You're going to take and flip it over, and you're going to add Stampin' Dimensionals behind this piece, right? Your Stampin' Dimensionals or your foam dots. And then after you do that, you are going to add it to a basic white piece of cardstock. And then after you do that, and maybe you add some embellishments such as our beautiful brass butterflies, this is how it's going to turn out. Absolutely beautiful and so much fun to create. So here I have a few others over here that I can show you. So maybe you like purple, you know, purple tulips. So that's some gorgeous grape. So this combination was more of, you know, the two there. So I just love them both. Now, you know, here on this one, you know, what I did to kind of finish it off is I actually stamped my leaves and then I die cut them out. But if you don't have the dies, don't worry. These are so easy to cut out. Very, very, very simple to cut out. So you can add a mini glue dot, and like I did here, and I added my Stampin' Dimensional, and you can kind of come in here and add it to the stem, right? So, or you could add the smaller one, whatever you would like to do. I think this one's the smaller one, that one's the bigger one. It might be a little bit big for that one. But anyway, it kind of gives you the idea of how to do that. So here, let me show you another idea that I had that I was super excited about. Now, I don't want to lose any of my tulips. I have been saving these and I've been having so much fun. I have a team craft day coming up, and this is one of the stamp sets that we're going to be featuring. So I'm really excited about that. Stampin' Up! Does have a joining promotion right now, so if you're interested in joining Stampin' Up!, I would love the opportunity to share with you all of the benefits of joining the Stampin' Up! Family, and of course joining my team. I have so many fun things going on. We have an amazing team and talented crafters, so please reach out to me. I'd love to share all of those details, answer any questions that you have, and of course welcome you aboard. So just let me know. Now here, are you ready for my other card? So check out this one. This one was done with the Daffodil Delight stamp set. And I did the circle on this one. And then I'm going to show you kind of how I did this decorative border and how I colored it. And of course that butterfly. So you can stay tuned, and I promise you that I will have that video for you here shortly. And so here you go. So this is the masking technique. It is fun to do, and remember, it just helps you create that illusion that one object is behind another. And as you can see, it allows you to blend, right, around spaces. So it's just really fun, and I hope that you give it a try. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Please be sure to click the like button if you haven't done so already, and subscribe to subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to go over to BrandysCards.com/beginners so that you can subscribe to receive my new beginners series of videos. Now, if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, please be sure to reach out to me. You can go to BrandysCards.com/contact, and I'd love to send you our Stampin' Up! Catalogs. We've got some fantastic catalogs. They're full of ideas and inspiration. A lot of times I start there when I'm looking for my ideas. So just let me know if you are interested. I'd love the opportunity to answer any questions you have and earn your business. I would be grateful. And for those of you that are already my customers, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I truly appreciate it. And I'm so grateful for all of you. And it is so fun to craft with you and hopefully offer some inspiration. So reach out to me if you have any questions. I hope you're doing well. Happy stamping. Bye, everybody.